This episode, I am going to go back to writing stories, but this one is going to be a little bit different. All right, I ran across an interesting opportunity, which was to write audio plays. Now, I haven't done that before. I've written screenplays. Haven't sold any, but I have written some. I've written comic formats, which are very similar. So this is an item that is close to what I've already done. I'm familiar with, but it still required a little bit of learning curve there because I'm not completely familiar with it. It is still a different medium to work with. All right. The first step is submitting, and actually that's not really the first step. What ended up happening was I saw an opportunity for writing assignments to get paid for it, and it required me to submit a writing sample. And what they did is gave me 3 prompts, writing prompts to work with. And you should be familiar with that. I've done plenty of videos now where we've looked at writing prompts and how do you move forward from a writing prompt to a story idea. So they gave me 3, and then with the instructions that just based on one of those, write a certain amount of words for an audio play to see if it seemed like I had the talent to be able to continue forward and do this properly. So that was my tryout. So one of the prompts dealt with something with vampires. The second one was romance, so I kind of tuned it out. I don't even remember what the prompt is. And the third one dealt with you're new to the neighborhood and a neighbor comes by after midnight and knocks on your front door. So like I often do, I didn't really follow exactly that brief. I came up with an idea that was a combination of the first and third. I came up with an idea that a vampire lived next door. This person has just inherited a house from his uncle. He doesn't know that this lady is a vampire. And she knocks on the door after midnight. And the whole storyline is that he's trying to get away. He's a recovering alcoholic. And he thought a fresh start in a new town would help him. And he is going to end up creating an AA chapter. And then as the series goes along, the chapter is going to grow, but it's going to turn out that all of the people attending the chapter are vampires. Anyway, so I wrote that as an idea, and that got rejected. I wrote an idea where there's a mystical tattoo shop, and you get those tattoos, it affects your life. Something happens based on what tattoo you got. They didn't seem to like that one either. And so my third one was I wanted to get away from something supernatural. Because the first 2 are kind of supernatural, and probably the majority of the people that are going to listen to these audio plays are just average people, maybe not as infatuated with the supernatural fantasy science fiction as I am. Even though those have grown in popularity, there's still a much larger segment that want action-adventure kind of stories or romance. And I'm not going to write romance. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to give them an option for action-adventure. And I did. And the idea is 2 brothers meet at their father's funeral. They have never met before. Their father's an Indiana Jones-style adventurer who recovers artifacts. And, that all cool and that. And then at the funeral, they're asked to finish their father's last assignment. And so that's the premise. And like, okay, you know what? It's not very complicated, but we're talking about an audio play that's going to run maybe 6 episodes. You don't want anything too complicated. And I'm like, okay, so I've given that. And of course, that is the one that they picked. It's the one I was least interested in writing, and that is the one they want. So really, step 1 was the coming up with the idea, but I'm going to pretend that step 1 is, because that's where we're starting now, that's what we're talking about now, is coming up with a basic plot. And audio play is very different. And like I said, it's much smaller. So we're talking about an episode that's probably going to run 10 to 12 minutes, probably 8 to 12 minutes. So they can't be too long. And of course, it's almost all dialogue. It's all dialogue and a little bit of narrator to add in some tension and everything. I didn't feel that my normal plotting methods were going to work. I didn't see how I could take the hero's journey or Save the Cat and turn that into a good format, a good plot for this story. So I started doing some research, and I got out there and looked at alternate stuff. I mean, I included Hero's Journey and Save the Cat, but then I looked at a couple others that I kind of play around with some, and then I Google searched, and I came across one that I'm like, oh, I think this is going to do it. So I'm trying to find a new method that I think will work, and my mind goes to pulp novels. Pulp novels and the old radio plays, which were very much like pulp novels. That's what I wanted. So I did a look for that, and lo and behold, Lester Dent used to write a ton of pulp novels, and he had a way of outlining it. And I read it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so simple. It's simple enough, it's going to fit for this audio play, 6 episodes, and it will do exactly what I want it to do. This is called the Master Plot Formula, if you want to look it up. Master Plot Formula by Lester Dent. All right, and what you do is you start with the length of the story that you're going to tell. Now, keep in mind, he wrote these for pulp novels, and I'm going to adapt it. I think this could be adapted to whatever kind of style writing you want to do. But the first step is to decide how many words you're wanting. What's your target word count? And divide that by 4. So for, say, action-adventure, you've done your research, and maybe that runs 50 to 60,000 words. Let's call it 60. You divide it by 4. That means each part should be about 15,000 words, right? That allows you to pace yourself. You have an idea of what needs to go in there and what needs to be included. So that's all good. And I'm going to quote Lester. At least I'm pretty sure that this is Lester, and this is how he described his method. Hit your hero with a heap of trouble. Part 2, double it. Part 3, put him in so much trouble there's no way he could possibly ever get out of it. And he doesn't say this, but then obviously Part 4, the hero succeeds. But what he does say is all your main characters have to be in the first third. All your main themes and everything else has to be established in the first third, and developed in the second third, and resolved in the last third. So that was his method, right? Super simple, and I mean I could see how that was going to work. So because I had decided to do 6 episodes, and if I move forward with this and I'm able to do more, I plan that all of mine will be 6 episodes, and I worked out a little variation on what Lester did. So this is Randy's pulp plotting. So part 1, obviously I would want to try to divvy up the word count as much as possible between these. Part 1, introduce the characters, the basic plot, and the stakes, end with a twist. Part 2, the hero takes the first run at the goal, put the hero into trouble, and in with the twist. I mean, that's pretty standard for all stories. There's a problem, the hero's going to attempt to resolve it, and it's not going to work. All right, Part 3, second variation of taking a run at the goal. Also pretty standard. It goes with the try-fail cycle. And so part 3, you do that, and you put the hero into more trouble, end with a twist. Part 4, the hero progresses with the goal. We get some traction finally, right? And however, you end with a major setback, and that would correspond to your dark moment in a hero's journey, all right? Part 5, the hero discovers the elixir, the solution. I mean, the hero changes, whatever the case may be, that's going to allow him to succeed. He discovers the elixir and takes a final run at the problem. And you want that to end at the revelation of the climax. So basically, whatever the big titanic battle is going to be, you want to end just as that's getting ready to start. And then part 6, the hero triumphs or loses, and we end with a twist. Okay, you may notice there's a lot of twists in there. That's because I like writing cliffhangers. I think that's great. And obviously for an audio play, that's ideal because you want them to reach the end of one episode and have to watch the next one. So I really emphasize those. I feel that Lester Dent pretty much was on the same page with that. He just wrote it up. He just spoke about it differently. I ended up liking the Lester Dent style of plotting so much that I think I just may turn that into my default mode for writing from now on. It was so simple, at least for the basic outline. At least to get started, to have a concept of I want here, right? And then I can fill in the details with the hero's journey or Save the Cat. I feel that this is an easy way to come up with a basic plot that you can then expand on using the writer's journey or using Save the Cat or both or whatever your normal method is. But it just gets you started. It gives you a nub of a plot that you can move forward. Okay, that's what I have. Until next time, later.